Can you still remember these lovely crafts and remember their names? Right, these are velvet birds, a traditional art form of ancient Beijing.
北京绒鸟呢，实际上，它只是一个概称，因为在解放以前呢，没有绒鸟。
The Beijing velvet bird is actually a vague concept. Before 1949, the concept of a velvet bird did not exist. At that time, the velvet handcrafts were mainly velvet flowers. These are all velvet flowers. This kind of art originated in the Sui and Tang dynasties and became most prevalent in the Qing dynasty. During Emperor Kangxing's rule, a large number of Beijing residents made a living by hand-making flowers. There were velvet flowers, silk flowers, and paper flowers, which were gathered around the Beijing flower market and dominated an entire street. In the past, velvet flowers were mainly made to meet the demands of the royal palace. The velvet flowers made for royalty were shaped like dragons and phoenixes. National Palace Museum still keeps the velvet flowers that were worn by the emperor's mistresses during the royal weddings. Velvet flowers are called ronghua in Chinese. It shares the same pronunciation with the word which means rich and noble. Both the royal families and normal citizens loved to wear velvet flowers at that time. Velvet flowers possess various meanings and functions, and this set of velvet flowers basically reflects these meanings and functions. For example, velvet flowers are designed for royal families, weddings, and elders. People will wear them as a specific way to represent a different meaning. For example, these 4 phoenix flowers are for royal families, because in ancient times the image of a phoenix could only be used by royal females. When the palace ceased to exist, normal citizens were able to wear these royal images. People began to wear these velvet phoenix images because they carried such pleasant meanings. This flower is a lily. In Chinese we call it bai he, which means long-lasting, harmonious marriage. And these flowers are called Fushou Yan Nian, which means lucky and long life. They are mainly worn by the elders. This treasure bowl image is also for the old people. This one is called Ru Yi, which can bring good luck to its wearer. There's a huge number of meanings and purposes for wearing them, and the ones previously mentioned are only some of them. This one is called Fire Devil Gourd. It is a gourd with 5 poisonous creatures on it: a scorpion, a centipede, a gecko, a snake, and a toad. During the Dragon Boat Festival, little boys wear this to get rid of evil spirits and bad luck. Women also wear velvet flowers during the festival, and they need to throw the velvet flowers away at noon to symbolize throwing disasters away.
Wow! There are so many traditions and cultural meanings in it. Do you know what they are made from? In fact, the raw materials are very simple. The framework is made of copper, and the other parts are mainly made of silk. However, the production process is extremely complex. The makers are not only required to possess excellent skills in painting and shaping, but are also expected to be patient and hardworking.
I began to learn velvet bird skills when I was in my 30s, which was a relatively late age for learning this craft. I came to know my master, Gao Zhenxing, in a very unlikely way. He taught me for about 2 years. While I was learning, I fought with the temptation of giving up. During my master's generation, people began learning the skills to make velvet birds when they were teenagers. Their hands were even deformed because of the pushing so hard for so long. Her joints and fingers were all deformed. My hands were fully grown by the time I began learning this craft. As a result, my hands were very stiff and tired when I was practicing, which almost made me give up. However, the words that my master said to me when we just met encouraged me to persist. He told me that the number of artisans, especially those who specialized in velvet crafts, was decreasing, and only 1 or 2 of them were still alive. He did not know how to face his master in heaven when he passed away. His words always pushed me to continue. When I had almost finished learning the skills, my master told me that he was relieved because he knew that at least someone could inherit his skills when he left the world. Many people who are around velvet birds often ask me whether they could learn this craft. On that occasion, I would say, no problem. I'm not a conservative person. Everyone can learn from me, but I need to claim 3 points. Firstly, learning this craft is very laborious. Secondly, it is difficult for a person to make a living on this craft. Thirdly, it requires a long period of time and persistent spirit to finish learning the relevant skills. I own a company and make a living by running my own business. I only view velvet birds as a very traditional handicraft in Beijing. Even though it's impossible to produce velvet birds on a mass scale like before, these skills must be protected and maintained because many techniques in this craft contain hundreds of years of history and innovation. I took part in all kinds of activities, and many people were surprised that some people were still working on this craft, since they had not seen it for almost 20 years. Being young or old, many people still like to buy velvet birds. For them, the birds are a kind of memory and interest. As long as the products have a market, the velvet bird craft will continue to
只要老百姓
survive.
喜欢它，它就绝对能生存下去。